Hi, I'm Gaurav Vasisht, also known as Professor G. I am a teacher at Leapwaters. Today, I will talk about leadership and 2 simple rules to become a great leader. I've got 2 messages for you. 2 messages that will apply to each one of us today. 2 messages. And whether you see yourself as a leader or not, because you don't actually have to be a politician or a 4-star general or some sort of chief executive. You don't have to be all that to be a leader. Actually, every single one of us can make a difference. Every single one of us is a leader in some way or another. Because leadership isn't actually about position. Leadership is about who you are. But the real message of leadership has been buried deep over the years. It's been buried deep. Last time I googled leadership, I got 760, yeah, that's right, million results in half a second. 760 million, guys. It's impossible to find out what we are really looking for in all that information. I don't know, but the average person on this planet spends about 6 months of their life searching for everyday things like keys and mobile phones. 6 months. Of course, the more stuff we have, the harder the search is for the things that we're looking for. Imagine now searching through those 760 million pages, things, different articles, to find your case. And that's the problem that we see today. Because thousands of different leadership models and concepts have all come together to form this complex tapestry, like some sort of remarkable chemical formula that we assume any university professors can understand. Well, I'm here to tell you today that leadership is actually very simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. And everything you ever need to know about leadership comes down to one of 2 simple but very, very powerful rules. And if you grasp these rules and put them in practice, you cannot fail to inspire others, be it teams, organizations, or communities. So let me get straight to it. Rule number 1, guys. Now hear me out and follow this. Rule number 1 is incredibly simple and is the starting point. Everything that you need to know about leadership starts from this one principle. Rule number 1 of leadership is that it's not about you. Or to misquote Bill Clinton, it's about people, stupid. Everything starts here. Eleanor Roosevelt put it like this, she said, a good leader can inspire people to have confidence in the leader. A great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves. Why? Because they get rule number 1. That's what she meant. And a leader, of course, is only a leader when they've got followers, right? So the temptation is to create more followers who need you for those answers that you can actually then provide. But of course, the best leaders don't create more followers. They create more leaders. They recognize that the idea of that hero flying in to save the day, solving all the problems, answering everything, just doesn't make sense. The world is too complex for any one of us to have all the answers. The secret is to always work on rule number 1. But rule number 1 is only part of the picture. There is one other component, the other key, and that is missing. The key is rule number 2. Now you're going to be very surprised when I tell you rule number 2. So rule number 2 is as simple and as powerful as rule number 1. Rule number 2 is, it's only about you. Now you must be wondering, what's he talking about? He's just twisted the whole thing around. If ever you want to create change around you, it starts with who you are and how you behave. The whole range of theories takes us through to the point that ultimately, if we want to inspire others, it's about who we are. So you must be wondering, what's he talking about? Rule number 1, he says it's about, it's not about you. And then he says it's about you in rule number 2. Is it a contradiction? No, absolutely not if you understand it well enough. Leadership in life is a bit tough. Things can go a bit pear-shaped from time to time, and it's easy to find ourselves blaming other people and pointing the finger elsewhere. But the true leader looks themselves in the mirror and says, if I want anything to be different, it starts with me. Because the true leader recognizes that what's going on around them is a reflection of who they are, and that's the power of rule number 2. You see, we recognize there is no point in waiting for everybody else to get their act together. We need to start cleaning up our own act. If we want others to live up to our expectations, then it starts with who we are, what we stand for, what we are standing up for, what we believe in. Or are we just doing time? Nelson Mandela absolutely nailed it, rule number 2. And he said, these are his words, I couldn't change others until I changed myself. Brilliant person, Nelson Mandela. And he was right. I don't think for a minute this is anything new though. Ancient wisdom had this long ago. Lao Tzu said, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. Mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. Cicero said, the enemy is within the gates. It is with our own luxury, our own folly, our own criminality that we must contend. These principles have been around for a very, very long time because the rule number 1 and 2 of leadership recognizes, the value of people around us, and also that people around us don't come with remote controls. They recognize that if we want to bring about change in those around us, it starts with our own behaviors. It starts with who we are, because the environment that we create around us is simply a reflection of our thinking and of our behavior. Brilliant people saying brilliant things. So when it comes to leadership, in reality, all that we were doing is repackaging and redistributing what has been known for a millennia. But life's not quite like that. Life is a journey. And sometimes we go around in circles, and there's no such thing as a perfect leader. There's no such thing. We keep going around. We keep reading so many things. But the next best thing is a leader who really gets rule number 1 and rule number 2. We live in a really complex world that is crying out for simplicity. Aren't we doing that? It's a really complex world, but we want that silver bullet. We want some simplicity. So let's just take that lead on these 2 simple rules. Because there isn't a single element of leadership that doesn't hinge on one of these 2 lovely principles. There's not one single other thing. Because, as I already said, it's not about you, and it's only about you. Think, and thank you for listening.